Well, hey y'all, Sick Gunslinging here. Do a little video on a case knife I've been having for a while. This is a Case Mako, and I guess obviously a direct comparison is to buck knives, and this would be the equivalent of a buck Ranger, a buck 112. Although it's quite a bit smaller. I showed earlier a Case Shark Tooth, which I think is more of a direct comparison to the Buck 110. And it has that same kind of pointy bolster here that knife had. But you'll see it's quite a bit thinner. In fact, I brought a Buck 112 along to look at. If you look at them side by side, turn that around here. You'll see that the Case Mako is quite a bit thinner. Lengthwise, it's about the same. It's a little bit shorter, but it is quite a bit thinner. And then we'll look at the blades. Kind of give you a comparison of the two blades here. They both have a real nice clip point blade, but I think the blade is a little slimmer and pointier on the Case Mako. Let's take a look around. This is a 2012 Case Mako. Sorry about the shine there. And the way you can tell that is, Case does their tank stamp a little bit different than Buck, obviously, but you can look up on the Case collector sites. There's different sites, and you can date your Case knife by the tank stamp. And it has that little Case Mako logo on there with a little shark. And that's how Case labels their knife there. But you'll see, one thing I kind of think is weird is how they bring this rear bolster up, but they don't cover the back of the blade where you have that, the rear edge of the blade. If they're going to bring this up, you think they would bring it up to where it would kind of cover that like a canoe and make it smooth. But they don't do that. Anyway, like I said, I've had this knife since about 2012. There's the lock on there. What's different is on the on this particular knife, it doesn't say press to unlock. Whereas a couple of the other case lockback knives I have, they always put a little thing on here telling you that this is where the lock is, but this one they don't. We'll give you a look at the snap here. It has a real solid, nice lock. It once again, I guess it's just this design, but it's like a bank vault when it's locked up. It doesn't move up and down, does not move side to side. It is a really secure lock that gives you confidence when you're using it. We'll give you a look at the centering. This one, it's not quite, and it's easy to correct that. You can correct it yourself, but it's not quite dead center. It doesn't rub, but you can see that it's a little off center to the left here, or to the lower part of your screen. It's not bad, it's just not perfect. Which, no handmade object is, right? If you look, it's pretty much, it's one solid piece of brass on the frame. That's how they build these. Buck does the same thing. And then you have your scales laid in. The particular, I don't know if they're coming up good on the camera. Now, these particular scales, I had put on by a friend of mine, guy I used to know. He was a knife maker, and I was talking about the scales that it came with were these diamond wood. I think that's what Case calls them, and they were just some kind of artificial laminate, and they looked nice. They look good, but we were sitting around messing around in his shop, and I saw this wood hanging there, and I go, "What is that?" And he goes, "That's snakewood. That's a real rare wood. That's a good wood." And anyway, one thing led to another. We ended up making some scales for this knife out of that snakewood. Now, hanging up on the rack, they looked really nice, but once they got on the knife, they kind of darkened up. You can't see them as good, but there are some little rings, you know, in the wood, and this is a real rare wood, that snakewood. One of the reasons that it's rare is it's real hard to work. It dulls your blades real fast, your saw blades, when you're trying to cut it, and this was no exception. It's just a couple little pieces of wood that we inlaid there, but it was really hard to do. But it is really, really nice looking. I don't know if I can get in there where you can see it. And it's a really durable wood, but it's an expensive wood, that snake wood. So anyway, this case Mako is most definitely mine because it has snakewood scales. You know, obviously when we took the scales off, this knife used to have two little pins that held the scales to the frame, and when we replaced it, we didn't put those pins back. But he had some really good epoxy, so it's not going anywhere. And I've used this knife quite a bit, including getting it wet and doing all kinds of things, and it's not going anywhere. But it's nice having your own custom scales on a knife. And, you know, so we got those pretty much perfect, you know, on there. The wood doesn't shrink. It hasn't shrank or, you know, pulled away from the frame or anything. This is, I don't know, this is kind of a cool little knife, but a strange little knife in that it doesn't carry well in the pocket because it's, for not being very big, I think it's still just a little bit too heavy for pocket carry. And, in the sheath, it's perfect, you know, but it's kind of hard finding a sheath. The case that Case gave with the knife was, I don't know what they call it. I think they call it a jobber sheath. You know, it'll fit several knives, but the knife kind of wobbles around in there. Whereas, you know, on the Buck 112, when they give you the sheath, it fits really snug and perfectly. But that's because this knife is, it's a little fatter, so it kind of squeezes into the sheath. This knife being real thin, it's kind of hard to find a sheath that fits it perfectly. I like this thinness. It's really nice, feels good in the hand, but it is difficult to fit really well into a sheath. Probably have to have one made. I don't carry, I use this knife, I don't carry it much. For a while, I was using it as a little, I don't want to say a kitchen knife, but for smaller tasks, I would use it, you know, here, like, you know, cutting up meat and doing stuff like that, just to get a feel for it. And I've used it as a barbecue knife, which is a true measure of a knife's quality, in my opinion, here in Texas. I'm just kidding. But anyway, no, it's a really great little knife. They still make them. It's not super rare. You know, it's a good size, good thin, real comfortable knife to hold in your hand. You know, I've got medium to large hands, I guess medium, and it fills my hand just perfectly. There's no jimping, there's nothing extra that you don't need. It's just a good little knife. I like that you have that. I love those long pulls. I've always liked that in a knife versus a nail nick. I just think they look cool when they're like that. Then, of course, you see the Case logo engraved into the brass. That's kind of nice. I think it looks good. Like I said, the centering's not perfect. I might fix that. You got to be careful doing that, but it's not too hard to fix. I could do another video on that, but you know, it's just a great little knife. I still, everything being said and done, I still would reach for this Buck 112 over this Case Mako. I don't know why. To me, just the Buck 112 feels better. You know, being that it's chunky and it's thick as a 110, it seems a little stubbier than the more elegant Case knife. But I just seem to like it better. Although, you know, looking at this thing in the camera, this is a really great little knife. You know, it's really thin. It feels the handle really good. The only, I wouldn't call it a problem. I would just say that it is relatively heavy. I don't have those specs. You can look them up, but it feels pretty heavy for such a thin knife. If it was a little bit lighter, I might carry it in a pocket. And if I found a sheath that was a little bit snugger, I'd probably carry it on the belt. But it's like, it's the opposite of Goldilocks. It's not just right. It's just right to be uncomfortable to carry. Like this guy here, the Buck 112, I would not want to throw that in my pocket just because it's so chunky. And, you know, this knife is about as heavy as the Buck 112, which is kind of strange. But the sheaths fit so perfectly that came with this knife. You can get sheaths for them that are really nice. But this one, I haven't found that perfect Goldilocks sheath for it that fits good. But if I did, I think this would be a wonderful knife. I think this knife would be great to carry in an open top sheath. Has this, like I said, it has this kind of 50s hot rod swell up in the bolster here. That's it's stylistic, but it's kind of weird. And I wish they'd have brought, when they brought this bolster up, they'd have brought it up to cover the back half of this blade like a canoe. That would have been kind of classy. But anyway, if you're looking for something different, you want an alternative to a buck knife, I would highly recommend you check out this Case Mako. It is made of their True Sharp surgical stainless steel, which some people ding it, some people love it, but I think Case does a great job. I would say their heat treat is definitely on par. It is a good heat treat. I think this knife will, as a matter of fact, this knife is very sharp. Takes a great edge, and it holds an edge for a long time. I'd still would give, obviously, in my opinion, I would give the edge to buck knives. I think the Paul Bose heat treatment is exceptionally well done. But Case, they're no slouches either. And if there's any difference, I'd probably give a little bit to the buck knife. But there's not much. I've never done a head-to-head direct cut contest between the two or anything like that. But I don't know. I like the feel of the buck steel. And this is the particular buck I got. When I say that, though, this is the older steel. This is not Buck's newest formulation. I think it was called the 420M or something like that. Some of you other buck experts will probably know. But this is a 2-dot Buck 112, so they have changed up their steel. And if Case changes up their steel, they haven't, they don't tell you. So I don't know if they've done anything or not. But I know that I'm pretty satisfied with the steel and the cutting power of this knife. So anyway, this is Six Gun Sling, and I'll be signing out here. But I just wanted to give you a look at my 2012 Case Mako. Anyhow, if you like what I'm doing, please give me a like. Consider subscribing. I'd appreciate having you on board. Talk about some knives. I mostly collect these older knives. I got a few modern folders. I'll probably do some reviews on those. But yeah, and some fixed blades. Obviously, you got to have a fixed blade. But my heart kind of leans toward these older knives, traditional or more traditional patterns. So, but the knife world's got plenty of room for everybody. But I really do like these more traditional style knives. Anyway, that's been my little look at my Case Mako, and I appreciate y'all stopping by, and we'll catch y'all down the road.